Great. So, good morning. I'm going to start with the topic called how to implement GxP system in pharma and medical device industry. As I said, GxP is very important concept in throughout the industry, whether you are working in pharma, API, formulation, medical device, biosimilars, OTC, wherever you go, this GxP concept should be understood and it has to be practiced. It is not only understanding, it has to be practiced in the industry. So all the contents we have taken, which is freely available on the internet, and the sources are acknowledged. So just to introduce, GxP is the collection of quality guidelines and regulations created to ensure that biopharmaceutical products are safe, meet their intended use, and adhere to the quality processes during manufacturing, control, storage, and distribution. So it is not only required through the manufacturing process, but when we are controlling, we are managing the life cycle management of the product. So throughout the life cycle, this GMP, GLP, GCP, GDP is required. Okay. So GXP is X is a variable you can term as good manufacturing practice or good documentation, good laboratory. When it replaced with the C, that is GCP, is a good clinical practices. So we are talking about all these in today's session, and there will be one more terminology which is called GAM, good automated manufacturing process, that will also be considered during this GXP session. So who defines and oversees GXP compliance in life science industry? So there are a couple of health authorities, the big regulated markets, which is generally monitored by US FDA in America, EMA, that is European Medicine Agency in Europe, then UK MHRA, that is Medicine and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency. Then there is a biggest body, which controls the standardization, that is International Organization of Standardization. You might have heard ISO. So there are more than thousands of standards are published by ISO, out of which 13485 talks about the quality management system for the medical device. ISO 9001 is also quality management system. So there are couple of 14,000, 22,000, 45,000. There are so many ISO standards. Like in pharma industry, we have ICH guidelines, right? So ICH quality, safety, efficacy, and multidisciplinary. Like that, ISO standards are also very popular and very useful in our day-to-day life. So when these organizations, among other, promote, oversee, and enforce their observation around the world. So this is a short introduction which I wanted to tell about GXP, how it works, and which are the sectors which will be in which these GXP standards are applicable. So medical device manufacturers, in vitro medical device, in vitro diagnostics, pharmaceutical, and life science. And as I said, on those working across this industry in other capacities like subcontractors, suppliers, vendors, importers, distributors, all these vendors and suppliers also follows these standards. So these GxP requirements outlined by the regulating bodies define the protocol and the control processes which are vital to safety of their end products. So wherever you go, the quality, safety, efficacy, these are the three important parameters on which we have to follow these important parameters when we manufacture either API, formulation, medical device, or any kind of product which should be safe. The safety is a major concern and which we have to really look into. So I have given some examples like how products are consistently manufactured. We have to see through GXP system that how we can manufacture product which gives the consistent result. What does it mean, the consistency? That means you are not going to manufacture a batch and sell it for once, right? You need a business lifetime. So you are going to manufacture batches and batches and batches, and you are going to sell it, throughout your business. And so that you have to ensure the consistency, so that each batch produced, each batch manufactured gives the same outcome, gives the same output as per the predetermined specification. Example, suppose I will give you the validation concept. So why validation is important? Because we have to check whether the products manufactured on different days at different location gives the consistent result as per the predetermined specification. So simple example, you consider McDonald's. The McDonald's manufacture, several products, right? The several food products like French fries, then veg burger, non-veg burger, or whatever. If you would have seen manufacture, the McDonald's have the several outlets. Whenever you visit Hyderabad, or Visakhapatnam, or Mumbai, or Maharashtra, Gujarat, across pan India, and same you visit in USA, UK, or wherever you go, you can see the consistency in the French fries or the patty, the aloo patty or the bread. So they have validated these batches, they have validated their formula so that they can produce the consistent result which are, good in quality, taste, and the service which they provide. So they have validated each process, each steps, each method, each recipe, so that they can provide us, the continuously, the consistent product, the consistent results. So that's how the consistency should be maintained throughout the product life cycle. Then how new technologies are researched. So now if you are, using, suppose, Android phone or iPhone, the 4th or 5th version. So you should see that how advanced technology nowadays advanced technology can be considered as the AR, that is augmented reality, artificial intelligence. So whenever you are into business, you have to think about the advanced research, advanced technology, and how your product designs are tested and challenged, how the laboratory and the manufacturing equipment is calibrated and maintained, how their processes are traced from start to finish through controlled documentation. What is meant by the track and trace? This is also very important. Sometimes what happens, you are taking batches and batches, thousands of batches, you have reached up to lakhs of batches, but there is no track and trace. When the product is recalled, it should be, traced properly, and you should be able to in a position to withdraw that product which is marketed or delivered to different wholesaler, distributor, and you have to remove all those batches. So that much robust system you should build in your company. Then how the workers are trained, how all employees, staff, workers, right from the layman, are trained. That is also equally important when we talk about the GxP requirement. Then how records of all these processes are captured and maintained to monitor ongoing effectiveness of this system. So no matter what sector you operate in the specific, the GxP standards that apply to you, you need tool and the quality system to manage your risk. So always whenever you get your facility audited, the auditor will always see to that how. Please, can you keep on mute? So how you auditor will always love to see that how the risk-based approach you are following in your system. So the how you are managing the risk. The risk is involved into your process, into your manufacturing process, into your purchase process, then your HR training. So wherever you find all the processes defined in your system, you have to evaluate the risk. You have to identify the risk, evaluate, mitigate, how you control the risk. So risk management plan is most important when we talk about the GxP standards. So you have to learn how to manage the risk during your document, during your control and the record. So that's what GxP is very important in all stages, right from your document start, like writing, till it becomes record, and how do you control, how do you manage the risk throughout your life cycle of documents. So uh, each product, each document has its own life cycle, and that's why, and each product has the expiry date also. Each document is also, some people gives 5 years, you can retain your document. Some people gives 10 years. So based on the expiry of your product, you give plus or minus 2 to 5 years. That depends on your internal policy. So as per the applicable regulatory requirement, generally people keep 5 years documents. And all the GxP method help you to create high performing products of consistent quality in most efficient way, and which will help you to minimize the risk of the product failure. Then provide the regulated products are in conformity with the regulated requirement. Ensure knowledge is maintained in your organization. Establish a mechanism for communication in all levels of your company, right from top management, middle management to the lower management. So, and the most important is to achieve accountability across an organization for the regulated activity. So, how this GxP helps, that I have mentioned in this slide. And also, GxP defines the best practices that cover every part of the life science industry and the value chain. What does it mean that all GxP can be seen as subset of good manufacturing practices? So till now, you must have learned the GMP concept, right? The good manufacturing practices. It starts from your gate, the entry-exit system, till you enter. So man, material, movement, everything. Those 5M is considered when we talk about GMP, because they all feed into the support and the safety of the your production and delivery of the regulated life science products. So GxP is about controlling the processes by which these products are developed, manufactured, and handled in defined ways throughout the supply chain, ensuring that they are of consistent quality and can be used as intended by the consumers. So for everyone, consumer, our customer is like a god. If you make your customer happy, your consumer happy, then only there is a sustainability of business. And that's how this GxP helps for your business sustainability. So in short, the GxP covers, the good manufacturing practices, good automated manufacturing practices, that is GAM, then good clinical practices, GCP, good laboratory practices, GLP, and the good documentation practices, that is GDP. So GDP is a common term used for good distribution practices as well, and some people call it a GDocP, like good documentation practice. So the central pillars of GxP is, the documentation, communication, traceability, and accountability, which demonstrate that required controls have been observed and ensure potential non-conformance in end products can be identified and corrected. I hope this is a pretty straightforward sentence. Understand? If you not understood, please raise your hand and you can ask me your doubts. Then the data integrity is the key for knowing that data and documentation is accurate, up to date, and accessible, and that they cannot be changed or tempered, which gives a high level of confidence to companies and the regulators. So in last couple of years, last 5 years, you must have seen there are industry facing lots of challenges in the data integrity. So when here the proverb is like, do what you say what you do. Do what you say what you do, and prove what you did and what you said. So whatever you are doing, whatever you are saying should match exactly. And how you show that it is matching? By the way of documentation. So document become evidence. So any auditor or health authority would like to see how the records are maintained, how the documents are being generated, what are your SOP, the standard operating procedure, what are your processes, and how you captured everything and built a robust quality management system. Am I right? So, how you maintain your robust quality management system? By way of risk identification, risk evaluation, risk mitigation, and risk control. Secondly, how you validate your processes, whether it is analytical method validation, whether it is manufacturing process validation, whether it is cleaning validation, whether it is computer system validation. So validation is also very, very important in all cases, so that you build a confidence in your system. And data integrity is very, very important, as I said, and you should not suffer in a long term. So when you start your documentation, whenever you will start your work, you have to be very careful, very cautious. I'm going to cover the Alcoa and Alcoa Plus also, what is DAMP also in the forthcoming slides. So thanks for your patient hearing. So I hope you understood GxP is very, very important when we talk about documentation, communication, traceability, accountability. So these all things covers under your GxP. So to ensure all these required action are understood and observed across an organization, companies need quality management system to be in place. And this quality management system need to qualify, control, and record all the key GxP processes, system, and procedure that ensure the safety of their end product. As I said, safety is extremely important. And to maintain the safety, we had to meet this system like GMP, GLP, GDP, and GCP. Because the final outcome is what at the end of the day is we have to ensure about the safety. Because any health authority is main objective is to protect their public health. So to protect the public health, safety is a major concern, right? Now during COVID, you might have seen lots of people have died. So how you evolve the COVID policy? So how the person can keep themselves safe? By ensuring that hands are not touched, wearing the face mask and the face mask, face shield, the gloves, sanitizers, like that, depending on the safety, you have to define how you are going to control, how you are going to take the precautionary measures. Because at the end of the day, safety of the public, safety of the patient, safety of the person is very important. Though you are working in medical device, pharmaceutical, or wherever you are, even at your home, you are taking care of yourself from the gas, from the electric shock. Am I right? Then during COVID, you are keeping distance, the social distance. So all these things matters and roll around with the safety, safety, and safety. So now we discuss about the risk. The risk of non-compliance in life science GxP are many and varied, which is why these standards are codified and harmonized in regulated sectors as much as possible around the world. So safety, of course, the risk-based approach is around the world. It's not only Indian DCGI or CDSO has to follow. Across the globe, US FDA, EMA, UK MHRA, Japan, PMDA, you go for Russia, China, GCC, everywhere this globe is divided into regulated and semi-regulated market. And in this globe, there are 257 countries around this world. So everywhere we have to meet country specific requirement and the product specific requirement. So ICH, ISO, these are the high level standards which are published to harmonize the system. And that's why we need to follow all these standards when we are working in the GxP environment. And if you fail to follow, what will happen? The consequences will be the product failure, wastage of your time and your resources. Am I right? That's the reason if you start following GSP system right from the day one, sky is a limit for you guys. Sky is a limit, I'm telling you. So, but at the more serious end of the scale, they include serious physical harm to end users, resulting in that revocation of licenses. That means your license will be banned, your license will be removed by the health authority. Then there will be major fines and even imprisonment for those with the liability. So your money will be lost, your time will be wasted, your resources will be wasted if you don't follow GxP, if you don't follow standards. So that is why these all standards, all countries are coming together and they are trying to harmonize across the globe. Just try to understand there are different standards, that is ICH, ISO, CDER, 21 CFR parts. These are the regulations. The standards and regulations are different. The guidance are different. ICH is a guideline. Okay. So how you define the directives, like European has the directives to follow. So you can see 2007/93 oblique, something that is called directives. So coming back to factors in the GxP non-compliance is, many of the fines and the sanctions issued around non-compliance in GxP are as a result of inadequate and incomplete documentation. So as I said, good documentation practice is very, very important. And the proverb, do what you say what you do, and prove what you did and what you said. That is only the documentation. How you are going to prove? By the way of documented evidence. And many, if you Google the FDA database for the warning letter, FDA's warning letter, that is FDA Observation Form 483, a very popular website you can browse through, after my session, and it will give you how many warning letters are issued to the different companies. With the company name, you will find out the warning letter. And these are issued because there is an absence of written procedure and the CAPA process. CAPA is a corrective action and preventive action. So CAPA is also important. As I said, validation, risk-based approach, documentation, including that CAPA is very important. Okay, the how you take the corrective and the preventive action, that same thing do not occur. The reoccurrence is avoided by way of preventing. Okay, so how you prevent, how you take the precautionary measures, that you have to define in your procedures. So when you write about the improvement and kappa procedure, ensure that throughout your life cycle of product, how you control the risk, how you take the precautionary measures, how you take the corrective action and the preventive action. So everything should be adequately defined in your procedure, in your system. And all these health authority like MHRA or FDA or TGA or any, if they find that you have insufficient or incomplete validation or insufficient process or the computer system validation or anything, that will become a reason for the failed inspection and you will get the warning letter. Okay, so that will not be a good place to be for any company, correct? Your image, your everything will be spoiled when you receive the warning letter. So to overcome all these, there are two ways, like either you follow the 5P system and the 5S system. Okay, these are very popular system, and one should learn what are these 5Ps and the 5S. Once you learn in your life become very, very healthy and very successful, I would say. I personally follow these 5 Ps and 5 As. I worked in industry for 20 years and I still recollect the culture, the system, what we used to follow in those old days. And nowadays, advanced technology, Android phone, AI, VR technologies are there. But still, when we follow this system throughout these people, the premises, equipment, procedure, processes, products, it becomes very, very easy for us because time will be saved. Am I right? Time will be saved, money will be saved. And when it becomes habit become culture, and culture become your attitude. So when we talk about people, people need to have clear roles and the responsibilities. Am I right? The first piece, people, and they need to follow all the procedure and be fully trained and assessed for the work they do. Suppose today a person is hired, and if he has assigned some job of quality testing, suppose if he has given a tablet strip and asked him to test, suppose how he will test on the first day of joining, how he can test. So there should be a proper training given to the person who joined the company. There should be an induction program of 10-15 days. Correct. So he should be well acquainted with our process, our quality management process, our documentation, our record process, actual tablet quality check, how it is to be done. That has to be on job training should be given to the person when he is newly joined. Though a person is having experience of 5 years, 10 years, but he is coming from different company, right? That company would have the different policy, different system, different procedure. But when he joined to our company, on the first day, he might be thinking, right, oh, I am new to this company, so I should be aware of this company policy, this company's procedure, and the document, record, template, whatever. So it is our duty when the person join newly in your company, he should go through the induction program, on job skill based training program, and then only the job should be assigned to that person. So people is very important out of this 5P. Okay. Then premises and equipment are validated and calibrated for the expected performance. Have procedures, schedule, and records associated with them, designed for effective cleaning and designed to prevent cross contamination. So, when you are working in the environment where all the infrastructure, the work environment is very conducive, you should see to that all the machinery, equipment are validated. It is qualified. The equipment should be qualified, and the instrument which are used for the measurement has to be calibrated. And the work environment, the cleaning, hygiene, everything is well maintained. If your company has AHU, the air handling unit, should be maintained properly. The maintenance record and the cleaning record has to be there in place. So all this procedure becomes a part of your GxP system. And the schedule of calibration, suppose calibration due date, the qualification due date, it has to be maintained throughout your product life cycle. Then cross contamination is also very important. How your raw material, packaging material, other accessories are stacked in your storeroom. So warehouse is also very important to maintain and to avoid the cross contamination. If it is a antibiotic facility, the penicillin facility, ensure that it should be built in a separate premises. If it is a canteen or the food, then it should have the separate access. So how the layout of the company design that is defined in our GMP, that is good manufacturing practices. Coming to procedure, it should be well documented, recorded, cover all critical processes, ensure all non-conformities are investigated and reported. Then processes, like all critical steps are identified when you are giving the manufacturing process of the product A, B, C, D. So each process has to be well defined, all critical points has to be mentioned, flow chart has to be given, all the critical steps you have to identify. Suppose for particular product manufacturing, temperature become a critical, some product, humidity becomes a critical for the hygroscopic material. So according to your process, your product, you have to define the critical steps in your procedure, and everything should be documented. So all processes defined, consistent, and documented. And the robust changes controls are should be in place. When you say your product is, your technology, your process is robust, when it gives the consistent result. I have already quoted the example of McDonald's, right? Then all these people, premises, procedure, processes are relevant to your products, right? So all are interlinked. See, there should not be mismatch of any linkages. You should learn to link how it is linked with your products, because your product should have specifications for raw material, component, intermediate, finished products, or any other thing which come in contact with your product, and have repeatable methods for the research, development, processing, manufacture and packing, testing, sampling, status control, stability testing, and record keeping. Okay. So when we learned during our product development, we have covered all these steps, right? Then we covered in the drug development also, new drug development, new product development. So I hope it is pretty clear about the 5 P's and how these are 5 P's are practiced in our day-to-day life. Then coming to next important 5 S. So this is actually Japanese technology and it is implemented in Toyota. But when we follow, this in our day-to-day life, your life become very nice, and I will say you will be very successful in your life when you follow 5 P's and 5 S. What are those 5 S? Sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. I will repeat. 5 S is sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. So, generally speaking, the steps of 5 S involve going through items in a workspace, removing what is unnecessary, organizing items, cleaning, performing maintenance, and making sure things are, all things become habits. As I said, habit becomes culture, culture become your attitude. And these steps should occur in this order only. And there must be a plan in place for performing the tasks associated with these steps on a regular basis. So I always talk to my children that, how do you manage your day? Every day you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you go to bath, have your tea, breakfast, right? You're doing every day till your death, but you don't feel that work is monotonous. Am I right? Still you are following same every day. Then when you are into work, why don't you follow the same thing? Correct? And that's why habit is very important. When you enter into your company premises, see to that your attendance is recorded. So entry exit system, correct? When you come to your job, so what is the first step you have to follow? That you have to remember. So sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Then only the sustainability of business or sustainability of people also, I would say. If the people are behaving good and if they are giving good performance throughout their life, throughout their association in that company, how the people will be progressed, the performance will be judged, and how they will be recommended for the next promotion. It depends on purely on your habit, your performance, your attitude, your behavior. And my dear student, this 5 P's and 5 S is very, very important. So please keep in mind and please try to follow in your day-to-day life. That is a strong message I would like to give it to all of you. Just see this. This is a case study before 5 S and after 5 S. Correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just see. Inventory stacked far out of reach. unused older inventory, safety hazards, boxes stacked in less. See how it was stacked. Anyone can fall, correct? How you can find the proper box which is desired by me, like which is expected. I want to see the accessories or the packaging material which is used for my packing of paracetamol tablet. How do I search if it is stacked like this? So you can see the barcoding, inventory dating, color coding, or naming convention. Everything becomes very important. Then trash and debris allowed to accumulate. Look at the right side. After 5S, uniform bins and racking, date tracking of inventory, bin content and labeled. You can see all are labeled properly stacked. Lighting in facility is sufficient. Racks are low enough that ladders are not required to assist in inventory. And look at this. If I want to remove this box, how do I need a ladder. And even if I try to climb on ladder, there are so many hurdles, so many boxes are, already placed down. So this is the difference when we build 5S in your system and in your day-to-day life. So I will just take 5 minutes break. We will define now each terminology used in the industry. Let us start with GMP first. GMP is very popular good manufacturing practices, right, which ensures pharmaceutical product, medical device, or other regulated items are consistently manufactured and controlled according to the quality standard, and thus reducing the risk of harm to the consumers. And the rules and interpretation differ from country to country. Why I have written the country to country? Because we have to follow the country specific requirement. Now, suppose tomorrow I have to sell my product in Russia or Japan. So I have to follow Russian and the Japanese country specific rules and regulation. Similarly, if China and Russia want to enter into India, so they have to follow our Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940, and they have to ensure that they meet all the requirement and the standards defined as per our country specific rules, that is Indian Drugs and Cosmetic Act and rules 1940. Okay. Similarly, if I have to export the in USA, Europe, Canada, so I have to follow that. So this is very very important for you to understand. And whatever product you are manufacturing are consistently of high quality, appropriate for their intended use, and meet the requirement of that marketing authorization or the clinical authorization. And GMP sets out best practices methods for manufacturer to ensure their product are packaged, labeled correctly, and they have the ingredients and the strain they claim to have. Correct? Whatever you are claiming on the label, it should match with the requirement. So GMP is a crucial element of end-to-end quality management. And together with quality control and quality risk management, it needs to form part of an overall quality management system, which will help you to reduce the risk contamination, errors, and the deviation in the production. So what is GMP? By now you must have understood, that ensuring manufacturing areas are clean and hygienic. We should have controlled environment. Then we should have defined and controlled manufacturing processes. And if any changes you are doing in the process, it has to be validated again. And the change control, the CAPA system should be well placed. Then SOP must be clearly written and well documented. Then manufacturing process has to be recorded. As I said, the flow chart and the critical point, everything should be identified. And the work instruction also is to be given. Like when you are working in manufacturing area, each machine also should have their work instruction, like how this machine operates. Suppose the first step is switch on the button. Okay. Next, you add the ingredient. So like that, stepwise work instruction has to be attached, nearby the machine, so that all the workers who are layman, so all the work instruction has to be written in the local language as well. So any regulatory body will allow you to write work instruction or the SOP in the vernacular medium as per the local. Like now we are working in some countries where the English is not understood by the local people. So we have to translate it into Gujarati, Marathi, Tamil, or any local language which is understood by those people. So the causes of any quality defect need to be investigated and action must be taken to ensure that defects does not occur again in the future. That is what kappa, right? You have to investigate, plan in such a way that same thing will not happen. So corrective and the preventive action has to be taken. So these are the 10 golden rule. You will Google, you can find this 10 golden rule about the GMP. So you can just read those 10 golden rules and we will move forward. So all these things we have already covered. I have already spoken to you. Then coming to GAMP. GAMP is a good automated manufacturing practice. And these are the guidelines which is published by ISP, and GAMP 5 is a latest guideline which was published in 2008. And these are the guidelines for the companies involved in the development and implementation of automated system for pharmaceutical and food industries. So increasing automation present huge opportunities for pharma manufacturer as they seek to produce drug more quickly, more efficiently, and the cost effectively, right? And that's why we are using advanced research, advanced technology, and as you go advanced level, the problem will also arise is how much sophistication you want. So that much validation, that much risk is also involved, and that's how this good automated manufacturing practices we have to follow. Automation inevitably means more complexity and increasing risk of failure and non-conformance in end product. So, for a pharma production line controlled by computerized system, must much the focus on regulating quality of output shifts to the development and maintenance of the software itself. So nowadays, if you see all the pharmaceutical industry and other industries are using all automated equipment or the machinery, which has PCB. So when it is coming to computerized system or computerized control, then you have to go for CSV, computer system validation. So that becomes very important. So what is computerized system validation means? CSV means it is the way of proactively guarding against the failure of such automation, and it has become a key feature for the regulatory landscape. And during last 5 years, you must have seen data integrity and all these, it becomes very important because everything is automated and audit trail, audit log is generated by the system. Even if you simply weigh by using weighing machine, suppose if you are using Mettler Toledo weighing machine, it gives with the printer like automated digital system is already installed. Am I right? But if you forget to calibrate or if you forget to do the computer system, if the system is computerized, then if you have to, sorry, you have to go for the CSV, that is computer system validation. If you fail to do so, the result, the desired output which is coming out of that balance of the machine will not be acceptable to any health authority. And that's the reason the weighing balance is also very critical. And if it is computerized, then it is more critical. So you have to take the printout, you have to, it will give automatic weight, how much you are weighing, and everything is automized. But at the end of the day, what auditor will expects the documentation, correct? Whether the balance used are validated, the computer system which is used is validated or not, then only he will rely on your result, that is output, the weight which you have entered into your batch record or wherever you are using that weighed product. Okay. So CSV process establishes documentary evidence that a specific computerized system will consistently produce a product meeting its predetermined specification and quality attributes. I hope it is pretty clear now, correct? It has given very nicely a specific computerized system will consistently produce a product meeting its predetermined specification and quality attributes. Generally, V model is used in the software validation. What is V model? Model I will show that also. And V model ensures quality is built into your product development and management processes rather than simply tested for. So quality is always built in, right? And which is tested for. You might have heard about QBD also, quality by design. People think that QBD is new, but QBD is very old concept, you know. But people have started implementing QBD since last couple of years. Correct? So ensure that your quality is built into your product development and management process. Correct? Than simply tested. Some people, just do the development and after testing, they think that your product is very good at that. So, right from the beginning, quality by design itself, if you consider the GxP requirement, follow all the standards, rules, regulation, you will never fail. Okay, wherever you test your product in one laboratory, second laboratory, third party analysis, everywhere you will get the consistent result. And that's what the any health authority is looking from all the manufacturer, all the applicant. Okay, which provides this V model also provides the software validation provides a logical sequence that helps to organize the complex activities of defining a project scope, executing it, and the qualifying at every stage, each and every stage, which provides an excellent basis for design control and tracking design changes as a project proceeds. So the right document management system can help companies organize and generate the documentation required to execute and record this process of specification, qualification, and validation. So this is how this V model looks like. So whenever you start the validation master plan should be in place. That is VMP. Then the user requirement specification. You might have heard about URS. FRS is a functional requirement. Then the TRS is a technical requirement specification. Then FAT and SAT, the factory acceptance test and the site acceptance test. Suppose if you have developed a product, okay, or software or the product, which has to be tested first in your factory before you install it into your the site, the manufacturing site. And when it is in the last stage of design phase, it has to be tested, correct? And that is called the factory acceptance test. So whatever predetermined specification you must have written to test that product has to be passed. You have to check each and every thoroughly as per your predetermined specification in the factory before it is transferred or delivered at the site. And when it is delivered at the site, that is called site acceptance test. So the difference between factory acceptance test and the site acceptance test you have to understand. Okay, and there are documents generated at each site when it is in factory, when it is in site. Sometimes what happen, why it is necessary the FAT and SAT? There is a reason, when you deliver your product, it will go through, by air, by surface, or whatever mean. If the machine is very huge, say for example, compression machine, fluid bed dryer, or anything else, just think about X-ray machine or the CT scanner in case of medical devices. So when you dismantle each and every part and again you are transferring by the courier by surface air or when it is installed again at your site, there are chances to give some haywire result or some part is damaged during the transport or anything. So that is why this fat and site becomes very important. It should give the same outcome, same result as per the specification, predetermined specification when it was tested at your factory, when it was tested at the site. Then installation qualification, then you are when it is transported to the manufacturing site, then installation qualification, operation qualification, performance qualification becomes necessary. So at your factory site, sorry, the manufacturing site, this IQ, OQ, PQ becomes very important. And you have to maintain this state of validation. Sometimes requalification, revalidation plan should be in place. So I hope you understood this V model of the software validation. Am I right? So any equipment or any machine which has computerized system, it has to be validated. And during validation, this V model is implemented, which starts from your validation master plan, URS, FRS, TRS, FAT and SAT. And when it goes to site, IQ, OQ, PQ, and then you have to maintain all the record. So GAM5 is very popularly used, very widely used, and which is very popular guidelines designed by ISP, and it is adopted by industry as a framework for companies to successfully validate their computerized system using a risk-based approach. So GAM5 provides guidelines for required validation processes that take into account the following concept. I will just read for you. The holistic understanding of product and process, the way product can be managed and validated using the quality management system, the way lifecycle management can be levered for more scalable validation process, and encouraging a scientific approach to risk management that focuses on the system that pose the most potential risk to the end user, and levering the involvement of suppliers in the validation process to avoid duplication of efforts and speed up the compliance. So I hope you understood the computer system validation, the V model, and how this risk-based approach is going to help in our industry. So everything at the end of the day, you should ensure that everything is validated or not, and your quality management system is robust or not. With respect to, of course, the process, procedure, those 5P, 5S, everything comes in picture. So I hope you understood the good manufacturing practice and the good automated manufacturing practice by now. Let us talk about the GCP, that is good clinical practice. It is a set of internationally recognized ethical and scientific quality requirements that must be followed when designing, conducting, recording, and reporting of clinical trials that involve human beings. Am I right? So, GCP is generally used for the clinical trials which are conducted for human beings. And there are, of course, non-clinical trial as well, wherein GLP is required. Non-clinical trial are generally conducted on animals, where the pharmacological and toxicological data is generated and the reports are prepared. When you talk about CTD Module 4, the non-clinical data goes under Module 4. Whereas clinical data, which is conducted on human, it goes in Module 5, which is a clinical module. So whatever you are designing, conducting, recording, and reporting in clinical trials, we have to follow GCP, good clinical practices. So it is a again ICA standard. You must have learned about good clinical practices and ICA standard, which is given the guidance given and which is very very nicely written, and all industrial people follow these ICH GCP guidelines. So these guidelines require all clinical trials should be conducted in accordance with ethical principles. sound scientific evidence, and clear detailed protocols. Am I right? Then the benefits of conducting trials should always outweigh the risk. So always benefit should be more than the risk involved into the clinical trial, right? The rights, safety, and well-being of trial participants are of primary importance. As I said, safety is always there, and when we are involving human in the clinical trial, so each human is precious. Each person's safety is very important. So how you are going to take care of the person's safety, his rights during your clinical trial, that becomes primary importance. And all these should be preserved by obtaining informed consent and maintaining confidentiality. Whenever you are involving people in your clinical trial, you have to take the informed consent form signed by him. If person doesn't understand English language, you have to talk to him in a local language. You have to explain you are going to enroll for this study. There will be chances of getting fever, nausea, like adverse effect. So you have to inform him prior to your study. You have to inform about what you are going to do in his body, because he is giving voluntarily and he is allowing you to test your product in his body. So safety is very important. So same is, confirmed by the way of informed consent form. So those forms should be signed by the investigator and the person who is involved. People will be involved in the clinical trials. So care must be given by appropriately qualified personnel with the adequate experience. And the record should be easily accessible for accurate reporting, verification, and interpretation. Investigational products should be manufactured according to the good manufacturing practices. Suppose if you manufacture any product in any area which is not hygienic, which is not properly ventilated, or cross contamination is always there, then what will happen? The same product you are going to test on the human body, the person may get affected. Am I right? So ensure that whatever products you are going to test on the human should be manufactured under GMP areas. Then coming to GLP, which is good laboratory practice. The principles which ensure that quality and integrity of non-clinical laboratory studies that support research for marketing permits for products regulated by the government agencies. And they are defined under FDA 21 CFR Part 58 and other regulatory codes as well. Okay. The key objective of GLP is what? Securing data integrity through good documentation practice. And the good laboratory practice is recognized and reproduced through a company's quality management system. So GLP should govern studies around the hazards and risks to the health and the environment posed by medicines, pesticides, cosmetics, veterinary drugs, food and feed additives, industrial chemicals, and adherence to these and other elements of GLP ensures that published data properly reflects the results obtained during those studies and can therefore be relied upon when making risk and safety assessment in development projects. Now we have covered GMP, GLP, GCP, GAMP also, correct? Now we move on to GDP, which is very important because after following GMP, GLP, GCP, everything, the end result is, the end outcome is document, document, and document. So good documentation practice should be, imbibed in your blood when you are working in your day-to-day life. So let us talk about good documentation practice. These are the standard by which data and documents should be created and maintained in life science industry. And all GxP at their heart GDP, which allows for auditable and accurate record keeping, good governance, and quality management. So good documentation practice reflects the principle of Alcoa. Alcoa. What is meaning of Alcoa and Alcoa Plus? Let us understand, okay, in the forthcoming slide. First, you understand what is GDP and what are the different types of document which needs to be created and maintained using good documentation practices. So there are batch records, bill of materials, certificate of analysis, certificate of compliance, laboratory notebook, logbooks, policies, protocols, quality records, including your kappa, internal inspection, the change control, SOP, test method, training documentation, validation documentation like IQ, PQs, then products and sample labels. So everything become a document. And how you can maintain a good documentation practice in your company, that purely based on your company culture, your company quality policy, your vision, your mission. So right from top management should involve themselves for building a robust quality management system. And robust quality management system, when it happens, when you have the robust document control, the robust document management system. So, as I was saying, Alcoa means Alcoa means what? A stands for accurate, L for legible, C for contemporaneously recorded, and O original and attributable. Okay. So, personnel should follow GDP for both paper document and the electronic documents in order to ensure the data integrity. And this principle that require the documentation have the characteristic of Alcoa. So if your documents are accurate, legible, contemporaneously recorded, and if it is original and attributable, nobody can, observe or give the non-conformities for your system, for your process, or your documentation. So you should understand the principle of Alcoa. What is meant by attributable? Means document must clearly identify who has created and contributed to them and be protected against falsification or forgery of those details. Legible means stored documentation must be legible and easy to read. Sometimes over the period of time you feel that it is not readable. So make the document or write the document in such a way, and that is why legible ink we always mention in our SOP, right? Sometimes batch record or sign, right? Over the period of time, that sign is not recognized. So make it as a habit, sign, and below that you write your name and designation. So attributable, legible, then contemporaneous means what? The documentation should demonstrate and support contemporaneous record keeping, because there should not be any gap. Each document, each SOP should be linked. Suppose if you are giving the reference of one document to other document, then you should see that how it is linked, how the process is continued, okay, and what the auditor or the other person, the reviewer has to review. So you have to give the hyperlink. Then the record should be continuous. Always we write PTO, page turnover, right? So the continuous linkage should be there. The reviewer who is reviewing the document should understood, how many pages the document comprises of, or how many other documents are linked to this document. So reference to be given properly, hyperlink to be given properly, bookmarks to be given properly, and so that you can in a position to demonstrate and provide all the supporting documents as well. Original is original, right? Storing original copies of documentation guarantees accuracy and the confidentiality. Accurate, the processes and the procedure by which companies record and keep their documentation up to date, and we must ensure accuracy and the reliability. I hope you understood the Alcoa principle. There is a Alcoa Plus. Plus means it should be complete, consistent, enduring, and available. So nowadays people use Alcoa Plus principle. Plus is nothing but complete, consistent, enduring, and available. Okay, I have given the definition of each plus sign here. You can read it out. So I hope Alcoa Plus is pretty clear now in the good documentation practice, because which defines the critical element. So how the GxP is correlated with the quality management system? So quality system are cited as the way GxP are expected to be defined, implemented, audited, and subject to a process of continuous improvement. Some people write an SOP, do their task, and finish, right? There is no continuous improvement seen. But while performing that task, if you observe anything that we need some improvement in the activity, so revise that SOP, maintain the record, maintain change control, correct? Because continuous improvement is necessary. In our life also, we continue to grow, we continue to learn many things. We get continuous Android version or the the upgraded system. So why not the quality system also to be upgraded? There should be continuous improvement in your record, in your document, in your behavior, in everything, everywhere it is improvement to be seen by the auditor. It's not that once we have established, our job is over. It's not like that. So think twice, before revising anything and implementing the system throughout your company. Continuous improvement is very important. The definition and application of all GxP across a business depends on the ability to build a robust quality management system that is accessible to the people who need to refer to it in their daily work. Am I right? The system should be so robust that tomorrow 10 people left the organization, your work should not suffer, your company should not suffer. So build a system in such a way that system should run, the system should work continuously in absence of people as well. That is how the dependability on people becomes less when you are able to build a robust quality management system. Train people on that system, okay, so that the work will be done appropriately step by step as per the predetermined specification. So the right digital quality management system with all its document control capability gives workers the tools to create and maintain a single, accessible, and definitive source of truth. When it comes to recording and implementing GxP is their working practices. So make everyone a habit of writing document, keeping the record, and maintaining it throughout the life cycle. Okay, make it an habit. As I always say, make it an habit. Habit become your culture. Culture become your attitude. So how this digital quality management system helps in the GxP compliance system in a 9 ways that I have mentioned. 9 ways a digital quality management system can help you implement and demonstrate. Okay. So how it starts? Like establishes robust and trackable change control procedure, defines and document SOP, offers high level of digital authentication as required by 21 CFR Part 11, which defines the electronic standard, electronic record, electronic signature. Then the CAPA, corrective action, preventive action, supports and document the effective management and the corrective and preventive actions. CSV, computer system validation, supports validation of computerized system. Auditing makes documented GxP available for inspection and audit. Then support cycles of continual improvement, supports hierarchies of document access and editing privilege, make processes, procedures, and supporting documents easy for user to access and contextualize. So whatever you are making, make it accessible to all people. How they will learn, how they will understand the system. Some people I have seen they are very rigid to share the document. They are very rigid to share work instruction, SOP with their employees, with their workers. And even the training is not given properly. Then how they are going to learn, how they are going to follow the system, how they are going to work in day-to-day environment. So I always request to the top management, ensure that each and every person in your company has been trained. The training record is to be maintained. I have seen simple the security guard. He should understand the entry in the logbook is mandatory. You know, the entry and the exit system, who has entered the name, from where he is coming from, at what time he entered, at what time he exited. So these are the simple things you have to train the security guard, the housekeeping, how they are cleaning your infrastructure, the manufacturing site or anything. You know, these are the simple things I have observed that people are not trained. These are the simple things, but coming to your quality check, the production manager, the supervisor, the packaging person, those are job skill training, and those people have to be trained compulsory. Then medical checkup is also mandatory, because some people are very rigid. They will say that why do I do the medical checkup of the employees? But it is essential, because those people are working in your company day in day night. If they are affected, they are suffering from TB, which is contagious. They are suffering from COVID. How you will come to know other people will get affected? So these are all, important things to be defined in and documented in your quality management system. And there are so many things which I have already spoken about it. So at the end, whether you are manufacturing a drug or medical device, warehousing active ingredient, or any, carrying out laboratory testing, everything demands about GxP compliance, and the fundamentally the same. Everywhere it is the same. So GxP compliance is about having the ability to implement and prove you have implemented all the controls identified as necessary for the delivery of a reliable, safe, and usable end product or the services. So compliant businesses mitigate the risk of product failure and therefore harm to the consumer through consistent process definition, training, procedural control, and record keeping around all their working practices. So I hope you understood the importance of GxP. So approach to GxP needs the flexibility to keep pace with the new commercial opportunities and the legislative changes. So that's all about the GxP. I have taken the content from different internet websites, and I have noted down all these as a references for you guys. And thank you for your attention. It was wonderful to teach you. It was my I'm really happy and proud to teach you. Today I could see 31 people have attended my lecture, and I hope you have enjoyed this session thoroughly. And again, I'm requesting you, if you are a real want to become a very good human being, you have to follow those 5P, 5S, and the GxP system. So at the end, I will again conclude that GxP is not only for the life science, it is everywhere, wherever you work in API, formulation, medical device, OTC, nutraceutical, wherever you go, you have to follow good manufacturing practice, good laboratory practice, good documentation practice. And if you are using automated equipment or machinery, you have to follow GAMP, that is GAM. And if you are going through clinical trials, GCP, the good clinical practices. With this, I conclude my lecture. Thanks once again for your patient hearing. Now we open the session for the question and answer.